Okay, let's make sure the sound's working. Yep. Oh. All right. Let's give everybody a little bit of time to get in here. Hey, Peachy, you made it. It's good to see you again. How you been doing this week? No, that's fine. That's fine. We all get busy. Hey, Mortimer, welcome back, man. I think we are good to get going. All right. Well, I've had those. I have had those. I remember one time. I think I'd been working for like 48 hours, and I was supposed to go to a friend's house to actually it's to play D&D years ago, and I just couldn't sleep, so I decided to have some sleepy time tea. So I picked it up at the store before I went home, had my tea, and well, I picked up the Sleepy Time Extra, and mind you, this was like back in 2000 before the company like toned it down. I think I woke up 24 hours later, not knowing what day it was. Hi, Michael. Good to see you. Welcome to the stream. And thank you for the compliment. Yeah, PG was bad because both me and the wife decided to drink some to sleep so that we'd be awake and ready for the game. Neither one of us woke up. Oh, it was very effective. They have since toned it down, but I'm still wary of the extra. I don't buy a Sleepy Time Extra. Oh, and we do have some news. Everybody who was in the stream here with us last week, they heard me talking about the Dragon's Eye seal, and I think Peachy was very excited about the concept of that video. The video is filmed. It is uploaded. It will go live Tuesday, 4 o'clock, as scheduled. We got it all set up and done. In fact, we actually managed to get the seal put onto a printed canvas, so it's easier to get a hold of because it's kind of hard to draw it. Well, some people might be able to draw it easier than me. I'm not artistic, but I wanted it available for everybody. So that'll be linked in the video as well. And since I'm always drinking coffee, and everybody keeps telling me to do more and more coffee mugs, we stuck it on coffee mugs too. These were a sample that they actually printed upside down. But I was promised all further orders will be correct. And I actually got an artist to do an artistic rendering of the Dragon's Eye seal. One of my friends designed it so the seal was actually inset into a dragon's eye. And then I got an artist to actually do it. I don't know, you're not going to be able to see that all that good, but that is a freaking gorgeous picture. Actually, you know what? I'm going to cheat since y'all's here live. I went ahead and ordered one of the canvases for the office. Check that thing out. Now, that's a really big one, but I wanted it for the office. The designer did an amazing job. The artist did a fantastic job. I'm just like giddy when it came. I really was. The 4 to 6 years the Dragons had me waiting to unveil this thing has been well worth it. So, yeah, quick little show of that because you guys join me live every week. I love it. So, hey, props for joining us live. You get to see that. It's shown in the video better. We also have a non-artistic version of it. It's just the seal. That'll show up in the video Tuesday. Can't give it all away, can we? And this week is a perfect example of how your workings as a mage and your research you think's going to go one direction. You think you got it all mapped out. And then apparently you take a left at Albuquerque and you don't know where you are no more. Because as you all know, the previous week I was doing invocation work with Lilith and Samiel through the Qliphothic path working I was doing. And this week I was doing the evocation side of that. Yes, the universe does laugh. Anytime you think you got it figured out, the universe reminds you there's always another side. That's like the laws of magic. Try to control everything and you control the outcome. Good luck. Because you're always going to miss something. But surprisingly, Lilith and Samiel, after working with me most of this week, last night they basically pulled the plug on my Qliphothic path working until fall. They want me to postpone it till fall. And they want me to shift my focus back to dragon magic, more specifically that one ritual I've mentioned a time or three where, yeah, that ritual kicked my ass. So they want me to turn my research back to that ritual and actually try and figure out the nuts and bolts where I'm going wrong. So, yay, that should be fun. Let's see, what else? Oh, and I got an incantation this week during ritual that's supposed to help access and open up the gates to the crossroads easier. I probably will share it at some point once I've tested it and confirmed it actually works. I don't want to get an incantation like, hey, I got this, and they don't do jack squat. I'm not sure I get the reference, Mortimer. I mean, they are definitely a power couple in the Qliphoth, that's for sure. That is for sure. But yeah, I really didn't expect to get derailed this soon. Oh, Infernal. That makes sense. That does make sense. Yep. You know, if anyone has worked with the Qliphothic any, one thing I'm trying to nail down personally, both Lucifer and Samiel show up in there, and they both have extremely similar energy. And historically, Lucifer is Samiel. It's just a name change. But in the writings I've seen, they've both been presented as the same and different. It's very confusing. And I've been trying to nail down which direction they're going. Maybe both. So, but yeah, so it has been a very busy week. The Candle Magic class, we have officially got it started filming. And before anybody jumps my case, yes, the Dragon Magic class is already being filmed as well. See, I was wondering about the twins aspect, or if it's just two faces of the same entity. That's one reason I was really looking forward to the evocation work, and now I've kind of been put on hold. Damn it. But yeah, so the classes are being filmed, and actually we're hoping end of March to almost be completely done with both of them. So editing, uploading, polishing, my goal is mid-April at the latest to have those on the school. And that was supposed to be on silent. Why is it making noise? Yeah, I have. We've been trying to do everything we can to keep up with things and get things going because we constantly are getting questions. I think I got 12 emails asking for classes on Dragon Magic, and this week alone, and I'm not able to actually take any one-on-one students at this time. I'm so bogged down and with the students I already got, even over video chat, it's just I'm booked. So I've got to get the online school up and running so the people wanting to learn aren't limited by my time. How long will it be in filming, or how long will the class be? In filming, we're hoping to have it live by mid-April. Now, that said, we learned something from the meditation class. The meditation course, we basically took 4 meditation classes and put them into one single course. So it's like you get the whole meditation thing in one course. And then we added material to it. So it's a massive course. And we got complaints on the price, and we've also got complaints on how long it is for one course. So that said, what we're planning to do with the Dragon Magic course is actually break it into 3 smaller courses that you can work through, kind of a 101, a 102, and a 103. And that's going to benefit us in 3 places. A, it's going to allow us to start getting these classes to you quicker. It's going to allow us to bring the price down drastically so they're more affordable for everyone. And they're going to be easier to work through in little bite-sized chunks. So you can focus on the 101, work through it, get all the nuts and bolts down, get comfortable with all that, then move on to the next one. I'm still doing the outline, but we're at least going to be 4 to 6 parts in the first course. So it's not going to, it's not going to be like sit down and watch a 1-hour YouTube video and you're done. It's going to be considerably more. And there's going to be exercises, ritual walkthroughs, and everything included. So I'm recording it so that it's as if you're in the room taking the class with me. Some of the things we're going to be going over is not only the rituals, but we're going to be going in depth to how to attune with the draconic rulers. And there's actually a path working with each of the first 4 draconic rulers in that first course. Because really building your relationship with those first 4 rulers, that is really your first step. So each of those 4 path workings is going to take a little bit of time in and of themselves. But yeah, we're not holding it back or anything. We're laying it all bare. So, and like I said, instead of doing a massive course that's just honestly be way too pricey, and I've always been against overly priced courses, we're going to break it into smaller courses so that you can work through them and, well, they're affordable. And somebody said, if I wanted affordability, why not write a book? I can't organize my thoughts. It's easier for me to film it. So we got that coming. And I'm actually putting together a book list of books covering the topics I get emailed and asked about the most. So we're actually going to start linking those books below the videos because people keep asking about the books, and I want to make sure if I recommend a book, you all can have access to it, but I can't guarantee how quickly I can answer sometimes. And I had 2 or 3 people get mad at me this week because it took me more than 12 hours to respond to their email. But so we're going to start building that list of popular books that are requested. Thank you, Kane. I'm going to do my best to make these top quality. I'm not going to rush them. I won't lie. I will delay it, and if I have to for quality's sake, I'm not going to rush them. But I do think mid-April's doable. But if it gets delayed for quality's sake, y'all will find out right here on the live stream, guaranteed. Oh, that reminds me. Earlier, before February, we issued a challenge to get to 500 subs. And the deal was, if we got there, I would go into my own personal grimoire, which is right here. And one of the dragons that I have worked with for quite some time, I would share their information, their sigil, what they do, and all that in a video. I checked the thing today. We're over 600. So that video is coming. I will be going in there and picking a dragon. And since we already have an earth dragon, I was thinking about an air dragon this time around. Because Expoon Whale is an earth dragon, and I did a video on him already. Hello, Alexis, and thank you. I'm glad you've been enjoying them. There definitely seems to be a desire for dragon magic information, and I don't think I realized how big it was until I did that first intro video. Actually, Peachy, water is the other one. We have been considering. So, hmm. Yeah, trying to think because I don't have a way to take a vote on this live chat really, but if you have a preference after the stream, uh, usually within a few minutes, YouTube puts the video up live and you can comment. So if you have a preference at that point, just comment air or water, and the one with the most votes wins. How's that sound? No, there's not, and there's really not. Well, we got two for water. Mathis, to answer your question, um, generally try meditation and trance work. Um, the thing is, dragons are really good at remaining unseen if they want to be. And when you're first getting started, they may choose to remain unseen. They may only allow their energy to be felt. Um, but yeah, the meditation and trance work are definitely your best bets. Just build that relationship, talk to them, let them know that you would actually like to see them, not just feel their presence. Every dragon's different, so you might have a shyer one as opposed to a bit more outgoing one. Uh, that's kind of the tricky part with dragon magic because they are all so unique and so different. Their personalities differ so much. You can do a few of the basic things, but the relationship has to be taken into account. A preference for the element type of the dragon that I'm going to do the next from the grimoire. PG, you only get one vote. But it looks like we got three for water. You know, Alex, I won't lie, because when I started this channel, I mean, look at the name of it. I actually intended to talk about my dragon magic practice quite a bit. And well over half, well over, yeah, probably the first 3/4 of the channel was focused on magic basics. I didn't mention dragon magic. So I think the dragons are up to something because it's like they waited for just that right time and then suddenly they're like, hey, doofus, go talk about us. The Draco constellation. I did work with it a little bit for a short time when I was working with some of the astrological dragons, and but astrology's never been an area where it does not hold my interest. Uh, which is weird because I love science, and most people consider astrology perhaps one of the most science heavy areas. But outside understanding those energies and understanding how dragons can help you balance them and transmute them and even increase them when you want specific traits and qualities, I've not really done a lot with that. So I have, but it's been so long ago. It's like I remember doing it. I don't even remember why I did it. Though I'm going to have to go back and look into it because that's an area we're going to have to cover in one of the Dragon Magic courses. I can't leave out the astrological dragons. They are way too important to leave out. In fact, since they tie in with the 4 basic elements, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to stick them in the first one. Yeah, they can. Dragons can very well choose you. In fact, I've often suspected that, not all the time, but I'd say a fair portion of the time, when you're doing the Guardian Dragon ritual or even the Co-Magician ritual, the dragon that wants to work with you already knows it. They're just waiting for you to take that step. So, yeah. And I mean, I know a lot of people who's had dragons around them their whole lives. And those dragons, once they went to dragon magic, did play a part. Sometimes it was a guardian dragon. Sometimes it was just dragons that remained around them and did help. They weren't necessarily a guardian or a co-magician. But once they entered dragon magic, those dragons still did play a large part in their practice. I could see that, Kane. I could. Yeah, Peachy. A lot of people do approach it from the Wicca point of view. In fact, Conway's books, if you look at them, they were written from a very, very, very watered down ceremonial style, with a foundation in Wicca. They really were. And when you look, and it's weird because if you look at what the dragons teach and stand for, even in Conway's books, you end up scratching your head like, how can it be balanced and so fluid if you're locking yourself into a dogma like that? And the answer is, at the end of the day, you got to take the dogma and the religion and set it aside and just focus on just the magic. That's not to say that the Wiccan version doesn't have its place, because there are people who enjoy that style practice. And yeah, I mean, it helps, but there's enough Wicca without having to do dragon magic Wicca. And I am going to mute this because apparently I go live stream and everybody decides to start messaging me. If I can figure out how. Okay, can't do it from my phone. Well, let's just hope they stop messaging. Well, let's just hope they stop messaging. You can relate the colors of the elements to the dragons, but that's only 50-50. And the reason is dragons can change their color as they see fit. So it can match their element, it can match their job, it can match their environment, and it can match their personality. One of the mistakes most people make is they'll say, my guardian dragon is insert element here. They'll say, my co-magician is insert element here. Guardian dragons and co-magicians actually forgo position as an elemental dragon to take up those other positions. So let's see here. So, for example, my co-magician, I said it's a chaos dragon. Well, it does present itself as a chaos dragon. And when it's not working as a co-magician, he is a chaos dragon. But as long as he's serving in that role of co-magician, he does not work in the role of a chaos dragon. Now, that's for your co-magicians. Guardian dragons, they're actually not even old enough to have an association yet. They're still unaligned one way or the other. They're still deciding what they want to do when they grow up. Yeah, pretty much, Peachy. At that point, once the dogma and everything's gone, it's not Wicca. So, uh, have you checked out the video on the contacting your guardian dragon and your co-magician, Alexis? Cause am I pronouncing that right? Because it's not actually overly difficult to contact them. In my experience, if you reach out and call them, if you got enough energy behind it, they will respond in some way. And dragons love candle magic, that whole fire aspect. They love it. So it may actually could be. Sends messages. Yep, people sending me messages. But does that answer the question about the elements somewhat? Um, because generally speaking, they will appear in those colors. Like the rulers, usually they will appear in a color that is related to their element. Like the ruler of Earth, that dragon will appear usually in a brownish color, a deep green color, or I've even seen it in like a stony gray. All colors associated with Earth, but it may not be the single color magical systems assigned to that element. Um, the air dragon definitely shows up mostly as yellow, white, and I've seen like a wispy grayish color like you might see in clouds. The fire ruler, definitely deep reds, bright oranges, even like that glowing black color you'll see in magma. I've seen that on him. And the water dragon, that one actually in my mind's usually the one that appears the prettiest because it has all those oceanic blues and greens and coral colors and those like this silvery sheen like you would expect like the reflection of water. So it's silvery white's the best way I can explain it because there's a silvery tinge to it, but it's so light colored that when the light hits it, it actually does look very, very white. Well, they are astral entities, not like practically any other entity we work with. Um, but dragons are a very primal race of entity. Their entire focus is on the balance of the multiverse. So that's balance in all things across the multiverse, not just necessarily our planet, our universe, or the like. Now, depending on what entities you talk to, you can get in a debate on how old these beings are, but for the most part, dragons, and I know you said not to say this, but they are dragons. And they work with the 9 elements that dragons recognize, which are earth, air, fire, water, dark, light, spirit, maelstrom, and chaos. And in one way or another, everything in the multiverse is made up of these. They're kind of the neutral party in all things. So they will help and navigate and work with any entity or plane that I've come across. I haven't ran into a case where dragons aren't welcome in some way. Uh, Drake dragons. Drake dragons are usually they're a smaller type of dragon. I've seen them a lot as guardians. Though at the same time, most drakes do tend to have a wilder temperament to them. But to my understanding, as they grow, they actually will morph out of that drake-like form that most people are aware of and know, because they're usually the ones where they have 2 legs and wings and that's it. And they will grow into more of what you would expect a true dragon to look like. It's just for whatever reason, when they're younger, they're a lot more. Primal's not the right word. I guess wild or animalistic. So you don't see them as often as guardian dragons. I mean, it happens if they happen to be getting a handle on their temperament sooner. The maelstrom. The maelstrom. That is. It's an element that the best way I can explain it is when chaos dragons work inside the void, and just outside the void, there's this massive. Imagine raw arcane power. It's unshaped, it's untamed in every way, just churning in a massive storm. That is the maelstrom. And this unshaped, unformed, uncontrolled, raw arcane energy, its primary purpose is to keep the universe in motion no matter what. And in my mind, it's actually one of the harshest and possibly most dangerous elements to work with. And that's because nothing is allowed to not be in motion. It's got to be moving, it's got to be growing, and it's got to be changing, and it's got to be progressing. So, to call the maelstrom element into your life, you have to be ready to accept those changes. And if history's shown us anything, most humans aren't willing to change. And the more you resist, the more it hits you harder. So it's one of those things, if you can let go and ride the storm, you'll come out on the other end changed for the better, regardless of the what you may have lost in the process. You will come out far better. But wading into that storm and trying to resist it, it's like trying to walk in through a hurricane and just trying to stand up against everything it throws at you. And believe me, a telephone pole and a stop sign getting flung at you at a couple 100 miles an hour, it's going to hurt. Conway touched on it in her books. I think there's like 3 lines, maybe 4 lines of text in her books. She just kind of glanced over it real quick. She referred to it as the storm element. And so when the dragons were talking to me and using the term maelstrom, I was a little confused myself. They actually had to rewind and explain it to me. But Conway didn't cover it well in her books because as I don't think she herself would ever advise anyone working with it, and she didn't see it as something you should work with. I mean, one of the things she said is you don't call the storm element, you would wait until it drops in on you. And from a mage's perspective, that actually seems backwards. Because if you're living a life where the storm element has to intervene, that seems like a bad thing. And as a mage, it seems like you should pursue the ability to balance everything out so that if the storm element is present, you're going to be okay. But that is one of the more advanced elements in dragon magic. That's the reason we're breaking it up into 3 classes. The first class will focus on the first 4. The second class will start developing into the other advanced elements. And then the third class will actually go into the far more advanced dragon magics, where you actually start to approach what the dragons refer to as the dragon and the dragoness. And these 2 entities are, I guess, the closest thing dragons recognize to deities. But even they won't refer to themselves as deities. And I don't even know how to begin to put those 2 into words. Because it's like the dragon, in one way or another, his form and shape takes part in all physical reality, while he overlaps into the spiritual. Whereas the dragoness, her form and size and entirety makes up the spiritual, while part of it overlaps the physical. In a lot of the draconic lore, they're referred to as the unknowables. Yeah, a lot of people have said that about her. And believe it or not, there's actually authors that are far more fluffy than Conway. I can't remember her name, but there's someone else. She's the one that's got dragons being as strictly angelic creatures. But she found Conway's writings too harsh. Sorta. The ritual that keeps messing me up is actually the evocation ritual for them. That's the one that I mentioned passing out more than once on. And that's also the ritual that Lilith and Samiel sent me to. It's like, pause your Clifothic workings, go back to this and get it right. So I won't lie, I'm a little tense about the concept of approaching that ritual again. But what little I have been able to work with them, they have been fascinating teachers. They're very hands-off in their teaching methods. But at the same time, it's just they can say the dumbest thing to you, and there's just this massive amount of wisdom that if anyone else said it, you'd look at them like they're crazy. But somehow they communicate it. So I won't lie. I mean, I've been wanting to perfect this ritual. I have. I've been wanting to try and get it to work and everything. And yes, after all these years, yes, there's still rituals I struggle with. That's one reason I like these live streams. You all can see there's crap I'm still trying to figure out. But you don't hear a lot about them because technically the only way you can actually learn about them is to approach them directly, if that makes sense. So I'd say 99% of dragon magic and learning it takes place before you ever meet them. And then once you have that foundation as a solid dragon magic practitioner, you've got a good relationship with all 9 elemental rulers. You've actually reached out to, there is actually a dragon that their domain is the void. And he's kind of like the go-between between the unknowables and the rulers. He's that bridging point, if you will. Then that's when you would reach out to them. And honestly, at that point, once you've learned all that, you're limited pretty much only by how far as a magician you wish to push yourself. Because by the time you learn all those things, you will have the knowledge that if you have a problem and you don't have a solution, you'll know how to figure out the solution or to find a dragon to help you find the solution, etc. And it's at that point where you go from looking at books and classes to looking at the planes and the multiverse, walking them, exploring them, and finding that knowledge to better yourself constantly and grow, which is the goal. And if it takes me more than 3 classes to get us there, I plan to get everything from start to finish, all the way up to, I do actually plan, once I figure out the details of that final ritual, that will be part of one of the classes. So, yeah, when I'm putting these together, I won't be holding anything back. Great questions, though, tonight. Did I miss any questions? Have I answered anything? I've been trying to keep up with the chat log. Actually, very similar. One entity that I have worked with that, hands down, it's a dragon, there's no way around it, is Jormungandr, the world serpent. Definitely a chaos dragon, but a fascinating entity to work with. And the gnosis and the knowledge it's taught me really made me go back and look at Norse mythology. And it's actually caused me to dive deeper into that lore, because one of the things it was telling me is him and Thor are not enemies. And ever since I've studied Norse mythology, that's kind of been just a staple. Thor and the world serpent don't like each other. But turns out, and this has been in the last few weeks, I actually found a video recently where someone went back pre-Snorri Sturluson his writings, which were heavily influenced by the Christians. And if you go back and you look at the carvings and the pictographs and stuff, the Norse placed dragon images and serpent images as some of their highest symbolism because of their protection and their connection to life. And in most of the pictographs, Thor isn't shown in any shape, form fighting the serpents. He's actually shown working with them, which just blew my mind because it's like, crap, here's this info I got from the other side. And now I'm starting to find physical lore here in the really real world that's confirming it. Yeah, looks like you got a good place to start your own draconic grimoire there. I think I know the one you're talking about. I've seen it before. Yep, chaos and order balancing each other out. And chaos dragons, everybody views them as just raw chaos, which they kind of are. But you got to look at their job in the multiverse. Their job is destruction and creation. So, one of the best examples of this is the forest fire that burns the forest down because the forest has lost the fertile land and it's got all the underbrush and everything, and it's just strangling the life out. Well, that fire technically destroys the forest, but it creates a far more fertile soil for something far better to grow. So you've got that destruction and that creation taking place. And that's what chaos dragons do. So even most people think of chaos as absolutely no order, but in their own little destructive, creative way, they do have a balance to them. Kane, I don't believe I have. That is not a term I'm actually familiar with. Or it's not ringing a bell, I should say. My mind's like a steel trap. Unfortunately, it's usually rusted shut. I read and study way too much to be able to recall it all. I like that saying. The lighted path appears to those who seek. Yep. I like that. Oh, nope. Have not reached out to that one. I actually wonder, that's actually a good question. I wonder if that would actually count as a dragon or a hydra, because hydras, for whatever weird reasons, don't count as dragons. And it's not the heads either, because there's dragons with more than one head. Well, the ruler of chaos dragons, I've seen him appear with two heads before. Quite often, actually. So I would have to look into that. Okay. Thank you for bringing that up. You gave me something to poke into. I love having stuff to look into. I love it. That's why I do what I do. I'm a dangerous person when I'm bored. If I get bored, it's bad because I'll be sitting there. I'll get a dumb idea, and since I'm bored, it sounds good. So it's nice that my research keeps me busy. Safer that way. Nope, that's another one I haven't. I wish I could say I have, but I've spent so much time diving in and working with the 9 elemental rulers, the bridging dragon, and trying to meet all the different dragons that the 9 rulers wanted me to meet and work with specifically, as part of them laying out how I'm supposed to construct this to share it, that I haven't really been able to jump into all these different areas that I want to. Um, Nidhogg and Yarmungandr I've worked with because I did spend an entire year where I was focused strictly on Norse magic and a Norse pathworking. And the restrictions that were put on me for that pathworking were crazy. Basically, for that whole year, if I had an issue or something I needed to use magic for, I had to use Norse magic. I couldn't fall back on any of my other practices. Um, Generally, wyverns aren't dragons. Don't view wyverns as dragons. They're kind of a, I wouldn't even call them a subrace. They're a separate entity that would share draconic blood on some level. Um, Worms, that's a little trickier because that's one of the names that they'll call one another as they age. Uh, which, I mean, you don't really get too often where you're hashing out a dragon's age. But without looking at my notes, I know you got the hatchling, which is pretty much it just hatched. Um, there's something between that and adult, which adult they would be. They're the larger end of your guardian dragons, kind of like the sofa love seat size. And from there, it starts going up into like worms and great worms and ancients, and at some point, it's just they're really friggin' old. Let's just stop counting. But as to why wyverns have always kind of been set aside, I don't know why. It's just they have. It's kind of like there's entities that will take the form of a dragon. Well, the dragons wouldn't view that as a dragon. They would view it as an entity that took the form. You can. But when it comes to that, Alexis, you want to have the dragon help you construct the servitor. You don't want to attach the servitor to the dragon. Because if you do that, first off, the dragon won't be happy. And the dragon is going to allow one of two things to happen. Because at that point, the servitor is pulling on the dragon's own life force. Either the dragon is just going to destroy the thing itself, or it's going to overpower the servitor to the point it's going to cause havoc in your life until you destroy it. But they can help empower them during creation, which is actually the most important time to empower them. And they can help you to find a great source for them to run off of. If you go check out my video on servitors and how to construct them, I go over all the little bits and bobbles in it. Just take that same process, and while you're doing it, ask your dragon to add its power to the ritual process. Does that make sense? I actually know one guy, he tried to attach all of his home wards to a dragon so that the dragon's energy would fuel the wards. And the dragon was so upset, it literally just destroyed all his wards and didn't tell him. Which he also had a habit of making enemies, so that wasn't a good idea for him. But then again, he also didn't treat that dragon with any kind of respect doing that. So, yeah. Yeah, it is. Magicians are really used to the goetic or Solomonic style where you enforce your will over the entity. That don't work with dragons. That just leads. That's a quick way to ruin your day or life. It does not go well. I would talk that one over with your dragon. Um, I would almost create another servitor. I mean, the way I do my servitors is I keep multiple ones running. Um, and some servitors, depending on what it's set up for and how you set it up, if it's one that you set it up and it automatically will always have X energy level, yeah, I see no reason not to go ahead and exit out and start again. But if it's one that, as it's set up, it can learn other things and become more beneficial, I wouldn't want to lose that time unless I was already close to where I'd have to um, destroy the servitor because you don't want to keep them around always. So, I mean, you got to balance out that equation there because efficiency. I mean, everybody's like, what do you attach your servitors to? Honestly, I have a composition notebook and I use the process that I laid out in the video. So, literally, every page in that book is a page for a servitor. So, instead of having to worry about what's attached to what, I just use the individual pages and I got plenty of stuff. And it also keeps everything organized. Easy peasy. That's actually a good question. I don't think anyone has asked me about servitors and dragons attached together before. I think that's a first in all these years. But a very good question. Oh, I agree, Mortimer. Actually, me and another practitioner, well, the person who originally trained me and now a colleague, Raven. I know you all heard me mention her before. Um, we worked through the Goetic spirits by the book to the letter. We set up the massive circle. I mean, boy, it was a pain, but we got through it. We got results. Then we went back and approached them in a manner that we approached them with respect, not the same forcefulness and binding kind of concepts that's actually listed in the Key of Solomon. And both of us experienced greater results by approaching them on a more friendly, respectful level. And I'll be honest, every entity I approach, that's how I approach them. I approach them with that respect and just a good consideration, and I generally get great results from it. Yep, I agree. Just be civil. It's amazing. A little civility and respect goes a long way. Golems, that's a tricky one because I have read manuscripts that show the traditional Jewish golem as listed in the stories and legends, but at the same time, I've seen no physical proof of it, and a lot of people will chalk it up to it's a storyized version of a servitor. It had no physical form. So I'm in the air on Golem. Um, I'm that person who I don't ever want to say anything's impossible because as soon as you say that, someone's going to prove you wrong, or you're just putting a limit on yourself. But at this point in time, I do see why people think the stories are pointing toward a servitor or an egregore of some kind. Though, since egregores have more free will, I'm definitely leaning toward servitor. So, actually, in the Jewish legend, didn't it? It went wonky because it basically had nothing to do, didn't it? Been a while. But no, at my public statement at this time is I generally think things like that do tend to lean more towards servitors. Or one thought that did cross my mind before, um, a spirit or entity housed in a physical but non-mobile object. So you've all heard me talk about how I've got several skulls around the house that they don't have entities bound to them, but they do act as a channel or a vessel that entities can jump around my house through if they want and communicate through. Kind of like that. Only I do think it was a single entity connected to a single structure. If that would be the case. So I don't know. The golem thing could go a lot of different directions there. Yeah, basically. Yeah, basically the Bob thing. Um, but yeah, we've always had skulls around the house. Back even before we got married, and crap, we got married in 2000. Um, and I don't know where the name Bob came from. We just started calling them Bobs. It just became a generic name for anything you needed to call something but didn't have a name for it. It was Bob. So it got stuck. Although, considering that book series, I've considered changing that generic name. Great questions here tonight. Absolutely great. No, there was some discussion on whether we should, in the second class, cover just the next 4 or cover all 5. I'm pretty much down to we should just cover all 5 in there. I will say this though, for those watching and anyone who's watching this after, if you do email me or message me, I will get back to you. I try to do so quickly, but if it takes me a while, I'm busy. I got a lot going on. Don't start spamming me and don't start yelling at me because I will try to get to you. I've had a few people that apparently I didn't get to them quick enough this week. I guess they think I just sit at a computer all day and answer emails. I'm glad I don't. Whew, that'd kill me. And I have trouble sitting still just during these streams. Well, that's crappy. You know the subject of the question, you just don't remember the question. Oh, somebody last week asked me about chakra removal. I actually stumbled across some interesting theories on that process, which actually makes a lot of sense. One of the people that I was reading, the email address, workingdragonmystic@gmail.com. It's actually on the if you go to the about section on the YouTube channel, there's a place where it says email. You can click it. It says confirm you're not a robot. It's so that's how people contact me most of the time, either that or Facebook. Yeah, removal. There's this thing where people are removing their chakras these days. And like I mentioned last week, removal, if you remove them, I'm pretty sure they would just regenerate because it's not a process I've ever particularly undergone. So I don't have a hands on experience. But this guy was writing that the chakras are actually a diagram in and of themselves and not literal. They're an energetic construct because we've just been following that diagram. So removal of the chakras is just removing that diagram and freeing you to tap into the entirety of your energetic body without the limitations. So I thought that was an interesting perspective of that topic. I can't remember who asked me in here. But yeah, I've tried to make myself accessible. So my email's been up there. I don't think a lot of people click the about section, but that's the only place I can put it. Yeah, I see your point, Kane. Like I said, I'm not really sure where I sit on it. Um, if I get a little extra time or whatnot, I may look more into it. I just happened to actually stumble into that individual's research and thoughts on it because I was basically on my lunch break and just had a playlist running and of someone else put together, and it happened to pop up, which I thought was neat considering the question just came up last week. So I listened and got a perspective. Plus, it was something to do because I think that was Monday when I had the smoker going. So I was basically working on the laptop while smoking 14 pounds of meat on the smoker. It was a long day. Payoff was worth it, though. I am loving my new smoker, Peachy. Thank you. Uh, I ended up going with a Weber Smoky Mountain, and I only got the 18-inch, which I'll be honest, that thing's way more smoker than I need because it actually has two levels in it, and it's just me and the wife. So I actually considered about getting the 22-inch, thinking I use a lot of food. I do a lot of briskets and ribs. I might need the room. Mm-mm. Nope, that would have been way too much smoker. Because I didn't even put a full load of charcoal in that thing, and it ran for over 8 hours without me putting any more charcoal in it. What do you mean by my personal dragon ritual? You mean the demo like I did of the summoning thing, or because I mean technically I've already released the basic ritual of the flames, which is the first one. Well, there will be a lot more rituals in the courses, but I do think I'm wanting to at least film the next step up for the ritual of flames, and have it on YouTube because that does help to focus the energy and you get a lot more out of it. But it requires the Dragon's Eye seal to do that particular version. So I have to get this video of the Dragon's Eye seal out, which is coming out Tuesday. So I'm hoping within the next 3 or 4 weeks, if time willing, to get that ritual out. I'm just trying to decide if I want to film the ritual demo of the basic ritual of the flames first. So, And as far as the classes go, the classes they're not going to be on a subscription. They're going to be one-time purchase, lifetime access. Um, there is actually an option within the platform to do a subscription. And we've talked about maybe doing a monthly subscription where you would have access to all the classes. But right now, where we only have 2 classes and one of them's free, it seems kind of silly to charge anyone a subscription. And honestly, any subscription we charge would be about the price of a single class anyway. So, no. And just because we have the school, don't you worry. There's still going to be information coming on YouTube for free. The class format does allow me to do things YouTube don't. And I won't lie, I struggled with that for a while. That's the reason the school didn't take off at the same time the YouTube did, because I really wanted to try and find a way to present everything for as cheaply and then make it as available as I could. Oh, that. Oh, oh, um, oh, I see what you're saying now. Okay. So yeah, the dragon that let's see, the Dragon's Eye Seal comes out Tuesday. So it'll either be the following week or the week after, because we got 2 videos slated. One is that. One's the next dragon video with all the information on it, the sigil and all that. And it's Peachy wants everyone to vote for a water dragon. And I am wanting to do a video on the power of trance work, because as we discussed last week, so many people quickly jump over and gloss over trance work like it's not a thing anymore. And some people even use it as it's a start, it's a stepping stone. And once you pass it, you shouldn't use it. You should use other things. I completely disagree with that. I think trance work is phenomenally powerful and can create massive change. And it's a tool in a magician's toolbox that should not be overlooked. So that's something I've been getting questions about, and I'm really wanting to do a video on that. But I think I will go ahead and film the dragon first, because, well, I made a promise to get it out, and yeah, well, we hit the 500 mark easy. So I want to get that out. Oh, which reminds me, the 1-year anniversary of the channel is March 27th, which is a Friday. So it's also going to be the day we have a live stream. We have some great news and announcements coming out that day. Opening the third eye, Peachy, that's talking about, it generally is talking about your third eye chakra right here in your crown, which it's the energy center that allows you to see spiritual entities and energy, things that would normally be invisible to the physical eyes. So if you're wanting to see spirits or entities, opening your third eye is generally the terminology people use for that. So if you check out our video on the arcane senses, arcane sight would be dealing with the third eye. That's also known as clairvoyance. And it's actually so important. We actually filmed a whole course and put it on the school for free. It's a complete free course. I love trance work, Kane. I won't lie. I have insomnia, so what I will do, my wife has trouble sleeping if I don't go to bed with her. So I've gotten the habit of if I lay down and can't sleep and I know she's going to wake up if I get up, I'll just do trance work. I'll just lay there and do trance work. Mortimer, all I know is it takes a lot of work because I've been releasing at least 2 videos a week for, I can't even remember when I was doing one a week, but then I had to up it because I just couldn't get the content out. And when I started this channel, it was one of those things. It's like, I'm going to be nice. I'm going to try and get this info up. I did not realize it would be as much work as it was. But I do have to admit, I've had a lot of fun doing it. Grant you go back to my first videos, you can tell I'm terrified to be in front of the camera, but I've come a long way. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a learning and a growing experience for me. So, and the live streams are just the icing on the cake because I actually get to interact with you all, take the questions. It's just been awesome. I wish I'd started this sooner. It is. It's always a work in progress. You know, Kane, you say that, and part of me is like, yeah, we'll see. And then part of me looks at the numbers because I want to say we was over 600 before we went live today. And I'm still, it's like I see that number and my brain just can't register it because for most of the first year, we grew so slow. And I don't know what happened, but suddenly everyone has been finding us and supporting us. And it's just, I'm still wrapping my head around it. And I always say I look at the data and I look at the facts. And those numbers and those analytics right now, Kane, they side with you, not my disbelief. So yeah, it's looking like we will hit 1,000 soon, which is scary to think about. I don't know what that's going to bring. Because at that point, then I got to deal with the whole YouTube monetization hassle crap. So, but I'm not going to let that stop the channel. That's one of the reasons we are doing the coffee mugs and stuff, because if I have to, I'm just going to avoid YouTube's whole advertising crap, opt out, so I can do what I want with my channel. And hopefully the coffee mugs and the like will help pay for equipment cost and stuff. Because it takes some money to run one of these. I don't know if it's the algorithm or the dragon magic, because honestly, people really started finding my channel when I put those dragon magic videos up. Maybe it's a little bit of both, actually. So, but no, I'm committed to keeping this channel up and going and keeping the information coming. So, whoops. What is that? Why are we doing this? Stop that. What are you doing? I have the only phone that you put it on silent and it's never silent. Alexis, you might be right. Like I said, it was the weirdest thing because I started this channel thinking I'm going to talk about dragon magic. And we went practically an entire year almost without ever mentioning it. So I have to agree. I think the dragons might have had a claw in that one. Well, I could try that. That's not a bad idea. I was okay. I'll be honest. I was raised in the South, and I was raised you don't ask for money. If I guess it's just it's hard for me. But I also do understand that online culture is a very different business. You know, it never occurred to me they might be the ones screwing with my phone. And that's very possible. Uh, I can understand that, Kane. It can be a tricky thing to grasp. Um, One person emailed me and asked why I didn't do a single course on all five senses. And the reason is because the way the courses are set up, I designed them so you can go back and work through them as needed. Because some of these things, they're difficult to pick up. They really are. Um, Hearing came real easy to me. I've always picked up on phantom noises. Sight, sight didn't come natural. I had to start working with it. And I remember the first time I actually got it to work because I'd been working on it for so long with no results that when I actually got the results, I opened my eyes and I saw the being in front of me. I flipped backwards in my chair and fell in the floor and broke the chair. I was not prepared for my success. So it can be tricky, and do take your time. Um, there's no time limit on how you to complete the course, and even when you complete it, you still have access to it. You can always go back and redo it. That was one thing I insisted on: lifetime access. None of this one time, come back later and pay again. None of that crap. No, you go in, it's lifetime access, even on the free ones. And part of that is when I take a student in real life, I always tell them if they have questions after the class, they can contact me. So I intended to extend the exact same hospitality to my online students as well. No, the hardest arcane sense for me to pick up was touch. You know, that actually seems to be a trend, Kane, that if you tap into the abilities and then shut them off or lose them for some reason or other, it tends to be harder to reawaken them. Not sure why that is, but that does seem to be a trend. Myself and many other occultists who teach, we've noticed. And a few of the occultists I work with, they stepped away, and when they came back to train and try to redevelop those arcane muscles, as it was, they found it a lot harder the second round. Well, that's good to hear, all things. Heightened is always a good thing. Well, okay, maybe not always, because there are a few people who don't like hearing sounds or seeing things. So if you fall into that category and they're heightened, then that might not be a good thing. The why there too. See that takes trial and error and process of elimination and test, because it could be moon phases, it could be astrological energies, it could be passing comets, it could be spiritual energies, it could be weather patterns because they generate energy. Anything that generates an energetic pattern could have an effect on them. So it can be real hard to nail that down sometimes. Oshun would be a good reason why your abilities are heightened, as would your ancestors. See, that would be a factor that, yeah, that would definitely do it. That would definitely do it. I mean, that's kind of like working with Baron Samdi and being surprised when spirits of the dead and your ancestors start showing up all the time. So that's, you should kind of expect that. They go hand in hand. Also happens when you work with hell. Cool. She loves to send her little minions to poke and prod and get your attention. And don't ignore them. I remember one night she actually sent a spirit to wake me up and to go do a ritual that I forgot to do. And I literally rolled over to try and ignore it. So she sent the spirit to wake my wife up. My wife was very upset that she got woke up about it. That is true. Mercury is in retrograde. When you start tapping into your abilities, especially for the first time, it very much is like going to a gym. As you develop them, you are technically getting stronger, but there is that period of exhaustion that comes with it. Yeah, and actually, Mercury retrograde, I did a video on it and how you can utilize that. Well, you can do the ritual anytime, but the video helps you avoid the negatives of the Mercury and utilize it to your benefit. But yeah, the exhaustion's pretty normal when you're developing new abilities and working and training. In fact, another thing that's actually common is what's called a psychic hangover. If you work with enough energy that's way more than what you're used to, you can actually wake up the next day with what would feel like it's identical to a hangover. And it was strictly caused by energy. As an empath, make sure you're also working on your grounding and shielding practices. See, called it. You already felt it. You just didn't want to say it. But yeah, it's actually very normal. And I mean, as you progress in your path, you get used to larger and larger levels of energy. But in my experience, there's always an energy level big enough to whoop your ass. Like the ritual I'm about to start working on again, like I said, I passed out a few times doing it. Every time I passed out, it wasn't a matter of waking up and just being like, well, that's weird. I felt horrible. I felt like I had a hangover from a 3-day bender and got ran over by an 18-wheeler. Well, flooding are pretty common in those areas. So one thing I will say about us Southerners, we will build our home in the damnedest places, but we learn to deal with the crappy weather. Although to this day, I don't understand New Orleans because if you look at it water level wise, New Orleans is actually below sea level. It's actually like down in a bowl. That just entirely seems like a bad idea to me. Oh my God. You know, I never thought of that. It's been so long since I saw that movie. Oh my God. Now I'm going to have to see if I can find that movie somewhere. Does anybody know if Netflix or Hulu has that on playing? But you're right. Yeah. Magic gives you a hell of a hangover. Well, when you're stepping outside your normal practice, I should say. Sweet. All right. I know what I'm doing tonight. Whiskey and Constantine. Or maybe rum and Constantine. Hmm. Ooh. Mead. Mead and Constantine. There we go. No, in the comics, that was I actually used to love John Constantine, the way they did his comics. I would like to see more content on him, but I'm also at the same time afraid they would screw it up. No, no, it's not a great adaptation. This should probably be a discussion for Magical Coffee Hour, but that's okay. The Linda will just have to miss this one. It's not a great adaptation, but what they did do was great because they took the character concept, they put it into a movie with an original storyline, and told it in an original way. It was before they cared about book accuracy, they just made a good movie based around the concept. And in some ways, I wish we would do that more because, and this is an unpopular opinion, I know, but Infinity War and Endgame, I wasn't too big on them because I read the comic. You're not really going to surprise me with it. There's not an emotional, oh my God. So, yeah, I wish they would kind of mix it up a bit more. So I actually do think Constantine did well because they did that. But I also understand the argument, well, I didn't read the comics. True. Yeah, that is true. Apparently, they did one season of a series with him. I didn't get to see it, and I can't find it anywhere. I'm going to have to keep looking, but they apparently did a really good job with him in the one season TV show series, whatever it was. Oddly, I do know DC does a good job with him in the animated movies. It's like live action, they can't do a good movie, but if they animate it, they can make a hell of a good movie. So, any other questions? Well, you can always join us in the live chat. I mean, we take questions. We usually try to have a topic that we're talking about, but questions can, just like here, you can ask any question you want. And you also get to see Linda throw me under the bus from time to time. She likes to throw curveball questions at me and just kind of watch me squirm. But that's part of the friendship her and I have. I take plenty of chances to turn it around on her too, so it works. No problem. I'm happy to help. Uh, I don't know why that would be, Mortimer. All right. Okay, for whatever reason, it hid your comment about not being authenticated. I hit approve. I don't know why I hit it. Okay. Technology hates me, Mortimer. But I don't know why that is. I'll be honest with you. My wife set my Twitch up because, again, caveman in a digital world. Um, my advice is I'll tell you what I do when I run into a technological problem. I go to YouTube and find somebody who done a video showing me how to fix it. That's become my go-to. It's like, how do I do this? YouTube, tell me. So I'm a content creator who I also search YouTube the way everyone else does. But that's kind of the beauty of YouTube because you can just have those little videos and stuff, and they're there. I've come a long way because used to be to fix a computer or my printer, I was throwing a combat boot at it. Now, at least I'm searching YouTube to find out a more refined way of doing it. We're going to call it refined. It's usually a large string of profanities being screamed at it while I'm trying to find it on YouTube. Raven once told me, "You need to calm down and center." I was like, "I am centering. Screaming profanities is how I center." I don't think she bought it. Sounded good though. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap up here unless anyone has any questions. I will say the Linda has a very interesting topic that she wants to cover this Sunday on the Magical Coffee Hour. I don't know if she wants me to let the cat out of the bag entirely, but it's definitely one that would be worth checking out. So, Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on Twitch. Tuesday, we do have the Dragon's Eye Seal video coming out. And in that video, we're also going to give the links to where you can get the Dragon's Eye Seal coffee cups and the canvas print that you saw earlier. For those who might not have been online at the time, it's this little thing here. Well, okay, that's not little. That's the big one. And definitely do pop over to the store, pick up some coffee cups. It helps support the channel so we can upgrade our equipment. Because right now we have a lot of things jury rigged. But and as always, just let us know if there's any topics you want us to cover. Okay, is it possible to start the live stream an hour earlier? Yeah, I think I could try doing an hour earlier and seeing how it went. I know we kind of polled to pick the day, which Friday did definitely work out best. I don't remember if we polled times or not. So yeah, tell you what, we'll actually try and do 7 p.m. next week and see how it works out. The big thing, I don't really know where most of my audience is. I think we did 8, so it kind of balanced out here in the States. Because with me being on the East Coast, I'm the later end. So the West Coast is like, what, 5 a.m.? Or not 5 a.m., 5 p.m. But I'm actually realizing I have a good chunk of audience that's nowhere near the States. So, yeah, we'll give that a try, Kane. Definitely will. Thanks for letting me know, because I know it can be hard to stay up late. And honestly, I appreciate you staying up and joining us, because it's great to have you every week. You always add great questions and comments. So, yeah, we'll give it a shot. Heck, we might even pick up new people because it's earlier. I might have to actually start doing a stream at a different time. Do like an early stream, like a morning breakfast stream or something, so that like people in your situation can catch those also. So But right now I can't add anything else to my planner. Ooh, I don't want to overbook myself. Okay, so by watching the chat, I do have to say, I think I saw more votes for water. Yeah, see, that's what I was just saying. So I think I will look into the water dragons and I will get that video made. With that, everyone, you have a wonderful evening. Thank you for joining us. And I'll see you next week. And Peachy, congratulations. You won the vote. You get your water dragon. Thank you, Mortimer. I'm actually going to go tackle some of my notes on that tonight after this stream. Take care, everyone. Good night.